was like, oh, it did curl back up. I got rid of a bunch of cans I hadn't been able to get rid of, and it's so humid out there. My hair frizz, so I'm gonna have to trim some ends. Um, but I hadn't trimmed them yet, so it's not straight. Chemicals. Boy, it's really interesting. Um, I think with the football and stuff, that's what Trump is focused on, is football. And he dropped off some cans, and like the guy that was doing the cans, he goes, "Yeah, tell her, Karen, tell him something about the Dallas." And I'm like, "Oh, Dallas, what? What are you talking about?" They're like, "Football." I'm like, "Oh, no, who knows? I don't know. I don't have a television, so that's out." But anyway, it's just been like I'm tired. But it's so weird how people are, period. And I don't know. Um they pretty roguish and trifling around here, especially if they don't have jobs. And he was talking about, oh, he's gonna get him a job, whatever. And then he was going on, well, he hasn't been able to work since he got sick. So I'm listening, and I know his good friend is Rick, and um, uh, so and I know what type of family Rick House was, so it's that. But anyway, and but the the way they're raising the children is so that they're not really worried. They don't care less really about North Korea or whatever. And I guess I was sort of mistaken about hydrogen bombs not putting off radiation, but you get radiation and everything. It just so um, it doesn't seem like it really makes a lot of sense to continue to pollute the air, the soil, and the water in such a hazardous way. Uh, but whatever. Um, it doesn't make any sense. Trump, I remember when right before Bush was leaving, then everything was like turning over to computers, and you had to get new TVs and all this stuff. And Lurleen had died, so I had got one of those coupons to get one of those adapters for a TV. But by the time everything got finished happening, it had like the coupon was no good. Some people were saying they were $50 to get it, and now they're saying you can get them for $20 still if you need one. But I don't care one way or the other because I don't have a television. Um, I don't know, locally, like the TV didn't act right. The regular older TV didn't act right. It was like the sound would act up, everything would act up. But they went. So I think that was a major problem that we had computerizing everything. Like all our elections, they're all computerized. Everything's computerized, and anything that could be computerized could be hacked. So, and I was looking at some of the elections overseas, and they were using paper ballots, and I'm like, I don't see why we still can't use paper ballots. And yeah, if people cheat, that's why they have people that oversee. But I think that's the only way. If they still want us to use those stupid little booths, I think there should still be a paper trail. But I mean, it's just the way. I think America is hell lot of trouble. A hell lot of trouble. When they talk about our bridges are crumbling, our highways are bad. We have cities like Detroit, Chicago. I think Detroit had the highest murder capital still in the United States. And we're crying about Chicago. Well, it's an epidemic, and it's systemic. And the reason why is the way we raise our children in the society that we raise them in. It's really not a safe environment. And when you don't have a child in a safe environment, that means it's not a good environment for them to learn. Uh, um, well, I would say in the old days, good survival skills like how to cook and basically have a bank account and get a little job and so you could pay your mortgage or rent, you know notes, car notes, whatever, right? But these, so like, the recession that we had after Reaganomics, I still think, right? Was it Ronald Reagan? Yeah, Ronald Reagan. I always thought he looked very Japanese, and that's one thing when everything is so racial, um, um, that I mean, we all know our history, of course, and we know about the Pinkertons and how they went, and it was just that's what they were hired for. They were like the first U.S. marshals, sheriffs, or whatever, and they were just going around and killing Chinese people, from the railway. They act like they shipped in a whole bunch of these Asians or whatever, but there are some earlier writings, um, about when the British first came, about um, what the people look like, and you know, and that's the reason why, like a lot of times, South America, they really thought was Africa. Um, the the more like I guess there was a mixture with the Asians that showed up prominently, and sort of the Caucasian, like what you would call the Indian, I mean, because like they had different hues of people with more melon, because naturally, scientifically, and just factually, and that's the reality, and just state that uh, the equator makes people uh, closer to the sun, and that causes them to get darker, right? So they have darker people with melon, and then you just had different hues, uh, depending on how close, uh, these some of these, like they followed her. They were nomadic. It was a basic paradise, for food, water, whatever you need, gold, or you can see they had it all. It was basically a paradise, uh, and well, you can look at America today, um, and you can look at a lot of places that capitalists, and like I'm not saying capitalists, to me this is just a bunch of like bullshit, and it's good for making wars, but is it good for society? Is it good for the continuing of the earth? Is it something that in reality we can continue? Um, I think war is futile. Um, um, and um, I remember when Dad came back from Vietnam. Ooh, what's the name? And all my uncles on my mom's side don't know much, like, that's like a Russian government Jew, concentration camps. And, oh, hold on. Probably this phone was ringing. Probably this stupid phone. Hello? It is one of those con calls. But anyway, so, what was that? What? Let me just get to the point. Is that we are in a situation, and that we're not dealing with the root issues. And the root issues of, when I go back to Reaganomics, okay, the policies that were set forth, You've seen a big jump from $1.35 minimum wage to what we have today. Uh, be it like 7 to $12. I don't know. It is. Um, but and with this inflation, we saw that businesses, mom and pop businesses, were replaced by Walmart's, Targets, Kmart's, Family Dollar Store, Dollar Tree, and the likes. Um, and even our bigger, better stores, Macy's and JCPenney's have been suffering. I believe Sears has been suffering. Macy's, I don't even know if I don't know like if Gimbels in New York can exist anymore. Um, so we saw our factories, our clothing union. I'll go overseas to be a clothes manufacturer today, in China and other countries in the Far East over there. Asian countries. Um, and we don't have the same manufacturing. We don't have the same business. So a lot of Republicans, they're more of the mind like, oh, let us focus on, let's not focus on, let's just redirect their thinking to like, oh, marijuana is illegal, and white America is ODing and dying on crystal meth and uh, uh, heroin, and I guess they're just letting them. They was letting them die. Now they're saving them, but they was just basically just gelling all and all of this was flooded in. We know from the Oliver North trials, from the CIA and South America, Colombia. I do believe it. I get lost in South America. It's a little language barrier. Okay, that's something else. No. Anyway, no. Who knows what I said? But anyway, the ethane is a mess. But no, I should. I hate when I say ethane. Like, what is that? Because always want to be like. Anyway, I grew up in New York, so but my Spanish sucks. um, but there is a language barrier because we're not educating our kids. Because I know like in the South, really, Mississippi, especially the lower parts, black people might have been make fun of their accent, but they were going across the border and they could speak, were bilingual. They go back, they can barter or do whatever they want, and it's not necessarily they going to get drugs, uh, uh, just certain foods and fruits and stuff that they could get, certain things that were highly prized at Christmas was nuts and oranges and stuff like this. So and um, so, but nowadays it's mostly with the heroin, it's mostly coming out of what is that, Afghanistan, um, over like by Russia. And it goes like through Russia, Afghanistan, Turkey, and then parts of Russia maybe. I don't know, foggy, but it's the right type of zone for weather zone. Rather. They could come right over down to Alaska. Because they could just take a boat over to Alaska somewhere, a fishing boat, and everybody's looking at South America. That's what I mean when they have you, you're looking one way. Uh, um, and they're making money off of the fracking. Um, and the fracking do cause earthquakes. There was fracking someplace close to here in Arizona, and I remember feeling an earthquake. And I remember that's why I got really serious. I didn't tell my family, but I looked up and I saw that city problem. I'm like, the silicone fan falls on me. Especially if it's still fitting my mind, it just went like, that's not something I want. So the hell with that. And this is cool. This house was like built like by my uncle Eugene Thomas and Lorraine Thomas, Water Valley. They used to call it Uncle Eugene Water Valley, and Lorraine they call it Water Valley too. Water Valley is a place in Mississippi that Eugene Thomas was from. Anyway, he died in 1958, so a long time ago. And they said on his death certificate, because I had to look at it, taking care of business around here, and they said that he had it was a weird thing with his heart that it was well anyway. Um, but we see today that our policies have left us in a situation where America now is, um, instead of, once we had made our money behind, that's also thing happened with Kennedy. They killed Kennedy over supposedly, theoretically, but you know, these were the rumors that was going around with LFT. You see, because they changed the dollar, instead of being the dollar being under gold, it's now under oil. Oil is running out. Gold, you have a set amount that's going to be there, like, it's there. So, and these are like this, and this is also where I think that we have allowed, just by them merely being white and acting like they go to church on Sunday. Please. Um, you know, um, we allow out of our this roguish, trifling, thirsty, dark ways that we have, hoish ways, these greedy, these conniving, these coercing, to embezzle, to blackmail, to allow all type of despicable type of behavior, all in the name of the holy dollar, and they cannot comprehend another way of behaving that doesn't hurt people. And I think the country, well, let me put it this way: I know when you look at individuals like me hanging around today and knowing their upbringing, that hurt people, and this country is hurting, and it's hurting its own people. It's like the mama whips the child talking about this gonna hurt me more than it's gonna hurt you. No, it doesn't. It hurts the child a hell lot more. You know what I'm saying? And they'll probably have the bruises and the marks to prove it. So, and these are one of these things. You can't tell me no difference. I've been a child. I've been a little girl. I've been a lady. And now I'm a grown ass woman. Okay. So it's official. But so America has had somebody attack it. America came attacking, and now that I think that white race is not superior if they're warmongers. It's just something very not mature about that. And I think that they digress and retard the growth to the rest of America to make themselves look more enlightened, but instead of learning, they cheated, so they don't know nothing. And you can see it evident in the Republicans' health care bill. It would cause harm, it would hurt, and obviously they didn't do their homework. That most of these guys have been in government for a while, so they should know procedures and they should know how things work. And things are supposed to work in government for the benefits of the citizens, and the benefits of the citizen is the benefit of the whole, and the whole is the government. It's engulfed in it. So we have a fracture, and the type of behavior we see with Trump and his tweets and him worried about football and going to want to fire everybody like he's still on his apprentice show shows that we have men that have disrespected women in such a way that you could tell, and I see this here, and you can't tell me no motherfucker different. I'm a mama, okay? So you can't, anagram law. So let me just make that, put that out there. Um, and like, what was it? Freud, Anne Freud, she hated her. Never mind. That's another story. So like, she didn't like lie, like whatever, because Freud was on, he was a heroin addict, and it was very prominent then. It was thought to be something, you know. Anyway, quite youthful when I first started, and So the thing is, like, what they wanted to keep it secret is how her best friend kids with this theory that they put out is supposed to make people more with the childhood rape. They would call it something new, different than rape. So it makes it different to kids that disassociate pedophilia. Um, um, like big things like, oh yeah, gotta get them 1 to 6. That's a good way to get them out there on the streets. They're gonna think that's the reality. At those early ages, that is your reality. So you have this unconscious hate for your mom that gets triggered by everyday activities. Like if she hit you for getting for not doing the dishes or not sleeping or leaving a wet towel on the floor, or she had a bad day. You went to her to have a conversation about a boyfriend. Oh, and so they have the physical, and which consists of not only getting hit and raped, violent, and like adults have this amnesia of how they felt in their childhood. It seems, so they can do it to their kid. They have this, seem to have this amnesia. But scientifically, before a child becomes really, you want to say about really 15, um, like just because you go into puberty, it just means that like the day you're born, you're getting bigger and bigger, and you can tell that in the different diaper sizes you have, the different size clothes. How often they're still developing. Their stomach is they're born. Their brain's not fully developed. Their stomach's not fully developed. Their lungs are not fully developed. They're not fully developed. They're not fully developed until they're a young adult. Uh, like 17, 21. You know, that's some people are fully developed at 16. You know what I'm saying? Where their feet ain't gonna grow no more. You know, their hands are the size they're gonna be. And etc. They're the height. They're not growing anymore. Boys sometimes they have other sprouts, but then their lungs are totally developed. Their stomachs are totally developed. So it is very important. The diet of the early years that they're more stuff that looks like what comes out of the ground, like vegetables and fruit, uh, because of their digestion system makes it easier for them. Fish, chicken, stuff like that is easier for them to digest. And other foods, such as sugars and uh, 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 beef, is harder for them to digest and causes more problems. Later on, after fully developed, a nice T-bone is not going to do the same that it will do to a 14-year-old. So, so taking the fact that you have the physical and sexual abuse that's very prominent. You have the church, like saying, spoil, spare the rod, spoil the child. So they have been forcing this. You have some preachers that have been known to be pedophiles, especially in the Catholic Church for centuries. So, uh, anyway, the two kids that they used, like basically one female, of course, basically was a prostitute, but she was actually got famous because uh, and died of overdose. Um, basically, they're like, oh, pills, you broke down with heroin. They didn't have a buffer anyway. Um, and the other one had a car wreck. He was an alcoholic. So they showed already. They wanted, like somebody that was easy to manipulate, subdue, and control, because these uh, suppress hostilities and confusion from someone that you depend on. A child draws love, is made to draw you love from you. You look at a child like, oh, and you want to take care of the child. This is the power. This is what they comes out of their pores. They excrete. It's like their musk. Um, it's the baby smell, right? uh, and, and it's not when it's like after it's washed. It has, just the baby has like invisible drawing to, uh, and so there's a disconnection. You won't see the child as something that um, so that you can pass on information that this will live on. You will live on through this person, and you don't see the big connection. And so we're disconnected. We continue to disconnect, and basically our enemies trying to make it too much money off of buying stuff. So, and we're not gonna change. We're not gonna stop with the oil. We're not gonna stop with the fuel. Look at Puerto Rico. Look how long it took Trump. Trump was worrying about the NBA, and there's people starving. People died in these hurricanes, in these floods. Um, Earthquakes are happening. Now, fires in California, and he's talking about some fucking football. Really, really, who gives a fuck? National anthem. My God don't know no borders. So you can get funky, funny, however you want to get. I don't care. Patriotic or not, if everybody dies, what the fuck does that mean? That don't make no motherfucking sense. Die for what? You know what I'm saying? And the Republicans, well, the only way you can fix something is to recognize and decide to have a solution. Well, I've been on here long enough, almost 30 minutes. Shut up, girl!